You got it?
Hello. I am
Oh,
I am
yeah,
glad to see you.
me too. Very much. It
Yeah.
was not that easy, but we got it.
I
Okay,
am
so
I am very happy to see you. We will
me too. Me
we,
too. I see you, but I see you on on the telephone. On the laptop, I've not succeeded yet, but it will be for next time. No problem. Let's go on the telephone. It's okay. All right.
yes. We will have a good time today. Let me
Okay.
let me introduce you to all our followers who watch us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very special guest. Whose life has been deeply connected to the world of boxing for decades. A man who dedicated his career to discovering talent, building champions, organizing events, and working with some of the most respected names in international boxing. From Belgium to French, from South Africa to the United Kingdom, from Russia to Ukraine, and now China. His journey through the boxing business is truly remarkable. This is not just the story of manager or promoter. This is the story of man who truly lived the boxing game. Throughout his incredible career, Philippe Fondu collaborated with respected names such as Gaétan Micallef, Michel Acariès, Frank Maloney, Ricky Hatton, and many others. Philippe, let's start from the very beginning of your story. Please,
Mm-hmm.
first questions. What are your earliest memories of boxing events in Brussels with your grandfather?
Oh, that was a long, long time ago indeed. Well, he brought me to some. Uh, Boxing was very good in Belgium at that time, professional boxing, I mean. And they were top boxers who were generally average people, poor people, working people, some working in the mines, some working in very small industries, and who did not need, like now, to have training facilities or whatever. It was what I call the real boxing people. And I remember going to Jean Pierre to several shows. One of them, one of the first one, if I remember when well, was Louis Petit Biquet, a very old name, with my grandfather, but I was only a kid, and to different boxers. That doesn't mean their names don't won't mean for the general public, but they were real fighters, and there were some really good contests. They used to box with 6 ounce gloves, hair horse gloves, uh, and really tough. That was the beginning of what I learned boxing with my granddad.
It's
Go ahead.
it's really good time to listen your story. How much influence did your grandfather have on your love for boxing?
Well, I believe he put the fire in me for that in the beginning, and then what that was it. And I stopped it when I grew up because I went to high school and then to university. I practiced a little bit in university, but I was not very good as a boxer myself, so I didn't continue very much. And then I met someone later on when I was out of university, uh, André Verbeur, a guy from Belgium who became a friend, and he had a gym in a commune of Bruxelles, where I used to go to watch boxers training, and he proposed me to start promoting boxing in some big hotel, and I joined the ID, and we did, because at that time I was a member of a service club called the Kiwanis, and we did the first boxing dinner show in the Hilton Hotel in Brussels. That was my real beginning and in the game for that,
Which
and it was successful.
which Belgian boxer impressed you the most when you were young?
Probably, oh, difficult to say, Jean-Pierre Cotemans, because he boxed Muhammad Ali, and that was impressive, but he didn't last very long indeed. Or Yves Monsieur was a great boxer. Jean-Marc Renard, of course, was a top boxer of the time. Um, Freddy de Kerpel, probably as well. These are the names that I do remember.
How did you balance your professional dental career with your growing passion for boxing?
Well, in the beginning, it went quite well because I opened a small gym in the garage of my house, which was close by the practice that I was running, and uh, and in the beginning, it was only amateur boxers, and I joined with a coach who was a very nice fellow. He was a Moroccan from origin, but he was working with Renault, if I remember well. The is a car dealer, and he was a former professional boxer. And we joined. We became friends, and he trained the amateur boxer coming to train in the garage that I had done on the advice of the mayor of the city of Saint Jos. But then slowly and slowly it took over, and up to the point that it didn't leave me much time for the practice and more to traveling, because some of these kids, like Saturnin Cabanas, Jimmy Gourat, Majid Eliresh, Bashir Sharan, they turned professional. So they asked me to manage them, and one day I decided that was it, and I closed the practice.
You went through such difficulties and didn't give up. You did a great job. Well done.
Thank you very much indeed. But I would say one thing: my mother and my father, who are passed away since quite a while, of course, were not so much agreeing with that, because my mother used to tell me, Phil, uh, we spent all our efforts to make you a respectable dentist in Belgium, and now you work for boxing, which means you work with the mafia, because in the mentality of the people, boxing has been related to mafia, which is not true, of course. But in the average people, they were very shocked that I dropped my dental practice to go to work with boxing. But since I did it, I enjoyed every minute of it.
Next, opening your own boxing gym inside your house was a major step into the sport. It takes courage and dedication to create a gym and build a boxing community from scratch. Many successful boxing stories begin in small local gyms with passionate people around them.
Mhm.
Your story is very successful. But what inspired you to open boxing club Saint Jos in Brussels?
Well, the advice probably of at the time, the the guy who was running the sport in the municipality, who became the mayor of the city afterwards. He told me, "Why you are a successful dentist? Why don't you devote some things for the kids of the area to open a gym?" Because I had the facility to have a good, a big garage for cars, indeed, and I covered um, the open space to do that gym. It was a small gym. There was not many people training in it, but we could put a small ring, and if I remember well, and about four backs, something like this, punching bags and other stuff, and a small bar, by the way. And so the people of the municipality came often to have a drink there, and we carried on doing so. But I'm not the only one to do so. I'm gonna tell you, there's one guy who is quite successful now too, who is running a gym himself, uh, and his name is Alain Van Acker, and he's the manager of a boxer who now will fight for the world title in the Bridgerweight division against a South African guy who I know well. So I'm far away to be the only one to be successful like that.
This interview will be seen by those who want to become a boxing manager. Your story will inspire them. Which
Hopefully so.
fighter from Boxing Club San Jose surprised you the most with his development?
Well, in the world of boxing, there's been so many people who made a great career. I've been lucky enough in the beginning to meet people in France like Gaétan Micallef, who was really an inspiration. He was running a big gym in Saint-Ouen. Also, I met people like Jean Molina. He passed away some time ago. He was a great manager from Marseille. And Toulon as well had. I went a lot in France in the beginning, and then I started to go to different other countries like England, Russia, Belarus. What would I say? Ukraine, of course, and this helped me to develop my input in the game.
Everyone knows you as a successful manager, but few people know what difficulties you have gone through. What what were the biggest challenges when you started promoting boxing events in Brussels?
Well, I started to promote first amateur boxer in Brussels, and at the time, amateur were quite popular in Belgium. We had the brother Garcia, who were quite good, the twin brothers. I made Daniel Byrne, who passed away recently, a heavyweight, to box Bobby Wells, the bronze medalist of the Olympic game from Britain. And we had a good crowd each time, so I enjoyed doing promotion, which is a totally different game. But I never had TV, and that's the main thing. I never had the opportunity, or maybe I was not good enough to have the TV network to covering me, and this is the key of the game. Now the big promoters have major TV, and they got the budget to do it. That still remain that they need to have talent and to be able to set up great fights. Uh, and this is what have guided me very much in the beginning also to work with Michel Acariès in France quite a lot, with Frank Warren in Britain, with Eddie Hearn, with, well, first of all, with his father, and even with Bob Arum and people like this. So it's a long story.
It's a very, very long story.
True indeed.
What did your fighters learn from training at Kingston Boys Club in London?
Oh, that was really a club of the old times. The owner of that club was a very nice guy who also passed away. I'm in the generation where most of my friends are going the way to no return. But uh, Freddy Bar was a very dedicated trainer. Where, by the way, in the beginning when I went there, because in Britain, amateur boxing is totally separate, was totally separate from professional boxing. And when I used to go with some of the kids training in Kingston Boys Club, it was forbidden to talk about professional boxing. In Freddy Bar's mind, in the beginning, it was like, well, no, they box for money, we box for pride. So that was totally another era, I would say. But finally, he changed his mind and he went into professional boxing, and he got his son also to go to professional boxing. But it was really genuine at the time, and I do remember I went to the finals of the amateur boxer in Britain, which was at the time sponsored by Wimpy, and that was huge. There were a huge number of people in the venue. This has changed a lot with the actual world.
Freddie Barr was highly respected in British boxing circles. Working with experienced coaches is
Absolutely.
one of the best ways to learn the sport deeply. What
Mhm.
made Freddie Barr such a special coach, in your opinion?
Well, Freddie Bauer was devoted to amateur boxing, so for him, the defense was important. He teach the art of boxing. Now, uh, amateur boxing is totally different from professional boxing, but it's the best way, I think, to reach a good level in a professional boxing. So I can't really see many people being able. There are a few, but most of them, if you don't go to the amateur school first, you can't succeed in the pro school, in the pro game. That's it. All right.
Later, you began promoting boxing dinner events at the Hilton Hotel in Brussels. How
Mhm.
different were those Hilton boxing dinner events compared to traditional boxing shows?
But most of them were sponsored by some companies, and the idea was to guest people of the Kiwanis or the Rotary or some kids support companies to raise profit instead of the classical bridge tournament or something like that where everybody was bored. And indeed, it was quite successful in the beginning. The Hilton helped me very much in the very beginning, and I must say, we made box there. Uh, Boxer probably have disappeared from the scene for sure. But we had a few professional boxers really much beginning their career in that. So the idea was to have, and I got that idea indeed from Mickey Duff in England, who did run a boxing event with dinner in London. And it was very popular over there. So I stole the idea from Mickey and I did it in Belgium with André Verbeer.
One of the most important figures in your boxing education was Gaétan Micallef.
Mhm.
What was the biggest lesson Gaétan Micallef taught you about boxing?
To be devoted to the boxer, to go anywhere with them when they go abroad. And Gaetan was the old school. He never boxed himself, but he was a fantastic coach, to my opinion. And he worked with, at the time, José Joubert, his manager, and he ran the club of Saint-Ouen, which still today exists, despite the fact that Gaetan passed away. And it, 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 it raised my whole interest in the boxing game, to be honest. Gaetan was such a devoted guy to boxing and an excellent coach. He had uh, probably the best French boxers of all time that he guided, including Daniel Londas, by the way. Voilà.
Gaétan Micallef worked with many famous French champions and Olympic level fighters.
Yeah.
High level. What impressed you most about the French boxing scene during those years?
Well, at the time, this was the time when I did it, where the old school of boxing with José Jover, Jean Bretonel were at the end of their career and started Louis and Michel Acariès, who started working with Canal Plus. And that raised boxing to a different level with the support of big television. So I was successful enough to meet Michel and Louis and work quite often with them afterwards. And I've been with them all over the places I would say, from Paris and all the places in France up to Guadeloupe, Martinique, Cayenne, in many, many places. So they developed boxing to the next level, indeed. And I learned the game thanks to Michel a lot in my knowledge of the game.
Next, working in South Africa introduced you to another side of international boxing. Every every country has its own boxing culture, style, and business structure. South African boxing produced many tough world-class fighters over the years. Those experiences abroad like shaped your career significantly. What were your first impressions where you started working in South African boxing?
Uh, I would say that the quality of the direction of South African Boxing Federation was huge, with Stanley Christodoulou being at the time the secretary of the board and the director of the board. He was a very, very professional guy, very tough, very difficult. I do remember one thing happening in Johannesburg when I came with, if I remember well, it was Daniel Londas who boxed there, and probably also I, well, I don't remember exactly who it was. A Belgian guy. Bashir Sharan boxed there as well. He was boxing in a place called Rustenburg. But what shocked me then is that the weigh-in was at 12 o'clock sharp. So and one guy, a heavyweight from South Africa, white, by the way, he was because there were, of course, many black boxers in South Africa, mostly, but it was the time of apartheid, so it was a tough time for South Africa indeed. And Stanley tried to teach them a discipline, a big discipline, and the respect of the rules. And a guy, he was from the province somewhere. They were farmers, and they arrived with 10, 20 minute delay because they drove back from their place. And when they came up in the room for the way in, Stanley said, "Fight's off, mate. You're late. Next time you'll be on time." And that was really shocking to me because you this would never have happened in Belgium. The guy arrived late, okay, but they got to wait for him. No, he teach them the discipline. But out, and it was tough. But I did enjoy South Africa very, very much. Not the apartheid, of course, but I did enjoy working in South Africa. I went to so many different places, from Durban to abroad, by the way. Frank Tiozzo in Durban, boxing Cesar Macatini. And I've got very fond memories of South Africa. It was real boxing.
That's great. You remember all your customers. You took care of your customers.
Well, I tried to, but I don't. I'm not sure I do remember all of. Well, if you remind me them, I will remember. But I've been lucky enough to cross so many people that it's difficult to remember them all. It comes by spurs.
You collaborated with respected promoters like Rodney Berman and
Yep,
Cedric Kushner. What,
absolutely.
what did you learn from working with promoters like Rodney Berman and Cedric Kushner?
Oh, it teaches you the game, and I wish I could have had uh, accumulate more instruction, more information, and put them on practice. But each place is different, and it's such a difficult and evaluating game that it's sometimes different. But what they helped me to be successful in Monte Carlo, where I did promote several events, because it teach me the right way to talk with casino as well. That's it.
You have a great history. You have to write your own book about it all.
Well, I'm not so sure it will interest many people to read my book, but I would like to compile my memories to not forget them. That's for sure. Uh, and there's been so many more things going to Kazakhstan, going to discover Zana Zakharov, to going to Russia, going to Belarus, going to St. Petersburg, where I was partner with a guy a long time. That helped me to see the world, and I'm over the moon about this.
The interview of one is not enough to tell everything, but we will try to cover more information about your journey. And you also learned from Dutch boxing figures like Henk Ruchling and
Thank you.
yes. How did Dutch boxing influence your understanding of the sport?
Oh well, look. At the time, there were two big promoters in Holland. The biggest one was definitely Hank Ruling and his wife, who was charming, by the way, and he was a great professional, Hank. And the other guy was Art Westerlaken, who was also more really a gentleman's promoter. But I learned a lot of things from them because they were very much organized. They were very much sharp. Hank Ruling was old boxing school, but and he worked a lot with Australia, which at the time was really the other side of the world. But Hank was really uh, a master of the game. So I learned a lot of things from him, like I learned a lot of things from Mickey Duff as well. So that's for sure. These are the big promoters in the past.
You work with Michel Acariès in French, become
Yeah.
another important chapter of your journey. Michel Acariès is a very respected figure in European boxing promotion.
Hmm.
Building successful events and managing international fighters requires huge dedication and vision. Those years must have been incredibly busy and exciting. What made Michel Acariès successful as a promoter, in your opinion?
Uh, an immense capacity of work, uh, a great view of boxing, an assistant who was, well, first his brother, who was also a great boxer, but also, I think, Nathalie Christol, who helped him very much, his secretary for years, indeed. And a great knowledge of the sport, plus the fact that he was the one who really discovered and made discover Canal Plus is a network, and the network gave him back a lot of possibilities. That's basically what made Michel Acariès, but his knowledge of the game was unique. That's for sure.
Alexander Gurov You
Hmm.
mentioned the success of Ukrainian boxer Alexander Gurov knocking out Norbert Ekasi.
Hmm.
Moments like that can become major highlights in a promoter's manager's career. Big victories often change careers overnight. Those are unforgettable memories in boxing. How emotional was the Alexander Gurov victory over Norbert Ekasi for you personally?
Well, look, it's probably one of the highlight of my whole career, and I keep a very, very strong and friendly relationship with Alexander Gorov to this day. Of course, the situation in Ukraine is very hard. Uh, Alex is living in a place which is not so easy to live in, close to Donetsk, but we keep in touch. And he was a young boxer at the time. He had only 6 or 7 fights, I think. And the opponent scheduled for Ekasi, who was at the time number 2 in the world, if I remember well, and trained by a top trainer in America, was really close to make a world title. He was a big puncher, Ekasi. And but Gurov, he's got one thing: he can bang like a mule, and he's not. He was not scared of anybody. So I proposed to Michel Zavialov, the president of the league, to take that fight, and he agreed. And I do remember in the dressing room where and Louis Acariès and Michel and several other guys came to give advice to Gurov how to box. And at one moment, that was before preparing the kid. And at one moment, Michael Zavialov said to everybody, "Okay, now please get out because we got to prepare." So they went out, and Michel said to Gorov, "Listen, mate, he's got 2 hands, he's got one head, and he's got 2 legs like you. Go and knock him out. If you don't knock him out, I'll throw the towel after 4 or 5 rounds." So Goroff was quite confident, and indeed, he created the biggest surprise of the probably the year, and he knocked out Ekasi, which, by the way, ended his career because after that he was totally lost, and he kind of lost all his self confidence. You can see to up to the point where he got a big argument with someone. I don't know what happened really, and he punched in it through a window, and he bled to death some time after that, which I do regret very much. But indeed, this is the proof that anything can happen in boxing. If you are well prepared and you're not scared, you can beat anybody probably.
You are I very respect you. Yo, this is this is interesting story. Ukraine become a very important part of your boxing journey. What
Indeed.
made Ukrainian boxers stand out compared to fighters from other countries?
Well, I do believe that the school of boxing in Ukraine has always been very good. It's the East Bloc school. Ukraine had so many good boxers over years and years and years. And I've been really lucky to meet Michel Zavialov, who drove in the beginning the whole system of boxing in Ukraine and made it something very specific, special, and successful. And thanks to him, I had the pleasure to work with boxers like Devakov, like Gurov, like Yuri Romanov, and plenty of other guys. Uh, and I forget many of them, citing them here. But most of them were really great boxers, indeed, and several had great success, to be honest.
Your friendship with Mikhail Zavyalov seems to have played an important role in your Ukrainian journey. Strong
Absolutely.
relationships often help build successful boxing projects internationally. Trust and loyalty are extremely important in boxing. Long-term friendship in the sport are valuable. How important was your partnership with Mikhail Zavyalov throughout your career?
I mean, I would never have succeeded without Michel, especially in Ukraine, if we had not been really trustable to each other. And Michel also made me become friend with a guy who was devoted to boxing and who invested a lot of money into the game. He even made me to do two shows, which were not great success, by the way, because it was too complicated in Las Vegas. I'm talking about Michel Barra, and that's a Swiss guy, and also that guy who passed away with his Lamborghini. If you remember, that was what was his name? Oh, blah, oh, look, I'm so emotional that I forget the names. This was the best years of my life in boxing. He came he came to Monaco to support the event. I've got a few pictures, I think, of him here somewhere. Wait, let me show you. I think it's here.
There were just a lot of them. It's impossible to memorize everything.
Yeah, well, that's what you say, but they are deep in my memory. So uh, and these were the best years that I was involved in it, and no matter the money or not money or whatever, uh, it helped me to discover the world and to live great adventures with boxers, with Michel, with all them people.
You helped guide the careers of fighters like Vyacheslav Senchenko and Vyacheslav Uzilkov, the Kingdom of Heaven.
Hmm.
Those fighters become very respected names in European boxing. Watching fighters grow from prospects into stars must be rewarding. Managers often become emotionally invested in those journeys. Which Ukrainian fighters' rise made you the proudest?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I mean, Goff it was one of the first one to achieve a great career because if I remember well, he must have boxed about 10 times for the European title. He won several, most of them. He lost some, uh, and he beat the best cruiserweight at the time. He beat Ekasi, which was the top. He beat. Several French kids. He beat the two German the brothers May. He boxed them in Germany and he beat them in Germany. So Gorov is certainly one of the top guy. Devakov as well. Uh, but to tell you the names now like this, I'm too scared to lose to forget one to be able to tell you all of them. Alexander Vetu also was a great kid with a great future, and then hopefully he drowned himself in the river after a fight. That was terrible. I attended the funeral. I was so sad, but it's been a wonderful journey of my life to be in Ukraine so many times and to have so many friends over there. I must say, I can't stand also that your country is under threat of Mr. Putin, which is terrible for no reason, in my opinion, or stupid reason anyway. Uh, and I just hope that Ukraine will come back to the country it was free and independent because it is the country where I've been able to discover so many talents and people who are really humble, most of them.
Your collaboration with Igor Schaffer in St. Petersburg connected you deeply with Russian boxing.
True indeed, yeah.
Russian fighters become extremely respected internationally during those years.
Mm-hmm.
Managing top-level Russian boxers required strong international connections and trust. That
Mm-hmm.
was a very competitive boxing period. What was special about Russian fighters during that era?
I would say the train the dedication to training they had, most of them, uh, and my relationship with Igor was great. He was a good guy, and I loved St. Petersburg as well. It's a beautiful city, by the way. And the the assistants at that time of a woman who is still into boxing, Marina Milovanova, was really crucial. She opened me a lot of doors there to meet people. And I would say that, and hopefully now, with all what's going on in Russia, it's totally different. But I'm not going to deny what is happening now. But I do remember with a lot of pleasure the time that I spent in Russia, being Moscow or St. Petersburg or Ekaterinburg or the place, because these were a great time.
You worked with talented names like Roman Karmazin, Ivan
Mhm.
Kirpa, Denis Bakhtov, and Dmitry Kirillov. Each fighter had a different personality and different path in boxing. Which Russian boxer was the most difficult to manage and why?
Hmm. It's difficult to say. I would say probably Denis Bakhtov, because he was a heavyweight, but he was a bit too small to be a top heavyweight, but he did a good career anyway. Uh, Look, every boxer is difficult to manage and to promote. It's depending on what you can offer him. Is a selection of contest. That's the point. And because, well, I had a bit of support of a channel of Russian TV then, but it was too early, and that's the point. TV has changed the whole picture of boxing over the years. That's for sure.
You also worked closely with Andriy Rudenko and many others heavyweights. Heavyweights boxing always attracts the biggest attention in the sport, the Royal Division. What makes heavyweight boxing different from other divisions from a manager's perspective?
I'll tell you what Frank Maloney told me when I started working with him. He said, when you speak to the best flyweight in the world, and you are like I am, a meter 78, 74, pardon, uh, you look down to him. Despite he's the greatest champion in the world, but you look down to him. And when you speak to an average heavyweight, you look up to him. That is probably the difference which makes appeal to the people. Heavyweights are impressive. They like mammoth. If you look at the last contest that I went to last week, Dubois in England, in Manchester, they were that was a war of mammoths. It's unbelievable. It's only in the heavyweight division that you can have something like this, I believe. And this is why the heavyweight has always been. I've been lucky enough to work with Lennox Lewis a lot, which I'm close friend to as well. And indeed, the heavyweight division is the king division.
Absolutely, you are right. British boxing has one of the strongest fan bases in the world. The
Mhm.
United Kingdom boxing scene became huge during those years. That move must have opened many opportunities. How did British boxing compare to boxing in Belgium and France?
Well, first of all, Britain has got a tradition of boxing from the beginning, and I think it's only in Britain where I've been able to see crews a cruise of over 100,000 spectators. I went to most of the events when they had the big venues filled out. I was in the corner for Derek Chisora several times and this and that. They It's unbelievable to be in a venue where there's 100,000 Brits singing "Sweet Valentine." That is fantastic indeed.
What was it like working with Ricky Hatton promotions during that era? And what do you think about Hatton versus Senchenko fight?
Well, it's been probably the best period of my life working at Ricky Hatton for several years because it it helped me to reach the peak of what I could do indeed. And I had a very good and personal relationship with Ricky, who was a nice guy. Uh, and uh, I got only great memories, but what I do remember, I told Ricky that I don't think it would be a good idea after he stopped boxing for a while to make a return, especially because he had sold out the venue before even announcing against who he was boxing. The venue was sold out in 24 hours. And I told him, Ricky, I don't want to give you Sinchenko as an opponent. And Ricky was really clear. He told me, Phil, you work for me as a matchmaker. You do what I tell you. If you don't deliver me Senchenko, I sack you. So I had no choice. But he paid the price for it.
Great fight. Great fight.
Indeed, indeed. But I knew that Senchenko was a dangerous guy for Ricky Hatton at the stage he was in his career. That's for sure. But it was a great fight indeed. And it sold the venue out too. Man Arena was sold out.
As a matchmaker, you had to balance entertainment, business, and fighter development. Matchmaking is one of the most difficult and underrated jobs in boxing.
Hmm.
One bad decision can affect careers dramatically. Fans
Absolutely.
often underestimate how complex that role is. What qualities are most important for a successful boxing matchmaker?
It's complicated to say because you need to keep competitive fights, but you cannot get guys who are too dangerous for your kid because otherwise you pay the price. Despite the fact that at some stage you need to take the reality into your view. If the boxer is arrived at such a level, he needs also to prove that he owns that level as well. But to build up a career is very important, I think, not to do too easy fights, but to do competitive fights. That's why also even some boxers like Rudenko or other who are tough but not extremely talented are really valuable to develop people. And as you can see, in some circumstances, guys like Rudenko, they made some boxers like that American guy he boxed lately to pay the price because after boxing Rudenko, he was not the same he was before, and finally he got stopped by the next opponent. So it is indeed a very uh, balanced and complicated job to be a matchmaker. Probably the hardest game of all.
Lucas Big Daddy Brown winning the WBA heavyweight title was a huge achievement for the promotion. How proud were you when Lucas Big Daddy Brown won the WBA heavyweight title?
I was very proud indeed and over the moon. And so was the guy who came with me there. look, the guy who introduced me, Lucas Brown, Matt Clark, uh, but also we were uh, a bit scared because being in Chechnya, with the president of Chechnya working the corner of the opponent and Lucas Brown knocking out the opponent was a bit hairy indeed. But everything went well and we came back home safely. There was no problem.
Happy moment.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great moments.
Throughout your journey, you worked in Belgium, France, South Africa, Russia, Ukraine, and the UK.
Mhm.
Which country had the most passionate boxing culture, in your opinion?
England, for sure. Britain.
Absolutely.
Great Britain. Yeah, Great Britain anyway. Also, of course, USA, bien sûr. Japan, also probably. Uh, Japan is also a culture of boxing incredible, and uh, and they have now a very very successful promoter with a guy called Mr. Owashi, who is the promoter of Monster Inoue, which I hope to meet in Vietnam next week when I go to the IBF convention.
You have now stayed in boxing for decades and still attend WBA and IBF conventions. That shows your love for the sport never disappeared. What keeps your passion for boxing alive after all these years?
But it's every day a new challenge. That's for sure. And if you want to keep to the top or to close to the top, you're going to keep yourself involved. That's for sure. Boxing has changed a lot, and I would say not necessarily in its best way, but it's still very very interesting. And I've got the chance to work with some people like Leo Margudes or Luis de Cuba, who are top promoter or manager in the world. So it's really interesting.
You also mentioned your growing interest in China as a future boxing market. China is a massive country with enormous potential for sports development. Many people believe boxing could grow significantly there, there in the coming years. Why do you believe China could become an important market for boxing in the future?
Well, look, I went to China probably 25 or 28 years ago, which was really a strange country, difficult to get in, difficult to go there. The barrier of the language was huge, and we didn't feel really welcome in China in the beginning because of the different style, the different system. Now China is developed so much that I do believe it's becoming almost just after America, maybe, and still I'm not so sure, the leading country in the world. Uh, and I do believe, where do you think it's easier to find a talent when you have a population like 9 million people in Belgium or 1,200,000,000 people in China? Obviously, the statistic prove that it's easier to find talent when there is more people for select. The only problem that I can see actually in China for developing talent is that there's uh, very few people who understand boxing in China. Besides, there is many boxing clubs, and the relationship maybe is too much based on the Filipino and places like this. Uh, where they didn't develop yet. I'm trying to convince some of my friends there, Liu Gang and Eric Yao and people, that the important matter is to start promoting boxing inside of China and not going too fast in selecting opponent too tough or sending boxers abroad too quickly, because then you pay the price. So it's always better to box at home than elsewhere. And I've been told that there's more billionaire in China than there is anywhere else in the world now. So I think the important situation is for the people, the promoters in China now, to find investors to be able to build the career of some of their boxers, and we're not there yet. But I'm trying to convince them.
You are one of the best managers in the history of boxing.
Oh,
Your,
no, I would say so. Yeah, no, come on.
your experience is colossal. You
Yeah.
know the boxing market well. What is the biggest change you have seen in boxing since you first entered the business?
Oh, there's a lot of things which have changed. Before, I would say the boxers were driven by uh, managers and promoter, like King, like other ones who were controlling the market. Now it's a much more free market, and there's more opportunities for people succeed. I don't know what's going to happen with that new Zufa ID, the change of the Mohammed Ali law, which will affect America quite a lot. I'm not so sure about this, and I don't know. I'm not sure it's a good idea. The MMA is a different sport, and I'm not much interested in it. And I'm afraid that it might affect really the relationship with the boxing business. But and I don't think neither that the idea of Zufa, for example, is to get rid of the four major world bodies. I'm not sure it's a good idea. I don't know, but I'll be very cautious on that regard. It's not a question only of a few boxers making huge mega money and the rest of it being abused. So I would like to reserve my opinion on that matter for the time being.
Boxing can be a beautiful sport, but also a very difficult business.
Indeed.
Fighters,
Indeed.
promoters, and managers all face pressure in different ways. I wanted to listen about your hardest moment in boxing. What was the hardest moment of your boxing career outside the ring?
The hardest time, and when I really was close to quit that game, was when I had a kid who was a nice Bulgarian kid, quite good boxer, Todorov, who passed away during a contest. He had, thanks God, passed all the medicals necessary requested at the time. The fight was in Switzerland. Todorov boxed in it's not Todorov, boxed in against an average boxer, Swiss, and he had an accident with a bleeding in the brain, and he collapsed in the ring without even being punched really hard, and he passed away a few days after, and that's been the hardest time of my whole boxing career, to be honest. This is also why I think safe medicals are so important and need to be respected absolutely to the point. I would never have a boxer fighting if his all his medicals are not tip top shape. That's for sure.
And you spent decades helping fighters achieve dreams and opportunities.
Mhm.
What gives you the greatest pride when you look back at your boxing journey?
I have a few of these moments like this. When I met Zanat Zakianov, he was a little guy from Kazakhstan, uh, and he told me I'll be a world champion, uh, and he achieved it. And since then, we keep in touch, of course. Uh, it's one of my proudest successful achievement when Zanat won the world title against a very good opponent in America who had been the chief of the Olympic team in America, and he beat him square and clear. Uh, that's one of the moments I have success. Same with Alexander Gorov, but same with most of the kids who won something really decent. That's the good part of it.
Many, many young people dream about entering the boxing business today. The same Dana White who went into the boxing. He opened Zufa Boxing. There are many boxers from Ukraine. Sergei Bogachuk, Alexander Gvozdek, Sergei Derevyanchenko, Vladislav Sirenko. What advice would you give young people who want to build a career in boxing management and promotion?
First of all, to get a good advisor, lawyer, or somebody they do trust. And look, there's one guy who drove the career of several of the top boxers from Ukraine. It's Mr. Klimas, who I know a little bit, but not personally very well. He made a superb success for his boxers, much bigger than mine, of course. But and he's probably someone who is totally reliable. So before going to the path of dreams with people like Zufa, just get advice and the advice of people who will advise you properly.
I agree with you. Egis Klimas is top manager.
Absolutely. Well, who could say the opposite with the success the guy's got? That's one thing. But he came after me in the game. That is funny. Well, it's funny and not funny because that means I'm older than him, and getting old is not so fun. Trust me. I would exchange everything I've got, everything I've earned to get back to 30 years old. That's for sure. But it's impossible.
What personality traits do the greatest fighters usually have in common?
Courage. That's one thing. You need courage to be a boxer, and dedication to training. That's one thing. These are the two keys word to success: dedication to training, and also probably some talent. Because you can be as good as you want. If you don't have talent, you won't succeed. But if you train very, very, very much, you bring it back to you somehow.
You have seen boxing from almost every possible angle: fan, coach, promoter, manager, and matchmaker. Which role did you enjoy the most throughout your boxing journey and why?
Hmm. Uh, Probably matchmaking, indeed. It's really when you have the promoter behind you who give you the possibility to do what need to be done. That's really interesting, and that's the way where you can build up success. That's for sure.
Throughout your career, you work with fighters from many cultures and backgrounds.
Mhm.
Which country's fighters were the most disciplined in your experience?
I know one guy who was very disciplined was Zanat Zakianov because this kid wanted to succeed so much that when he did a fight after training a long time in Manchester where it was raining all the time, and it was depressing because the rain was pouring all the time. And when he won his fight in Manchester, Ricky told him, "Oh, mate, you can't go home because I've got another fight for you in 4 weeks' time." And he said, "Yes." But what I didn't know at the time, and I thought it was great, his wife was pregnant and she was expecting his first baby, but he didn't go back and he trained and he won. That was the proof that the kid was really willing to succeed. And the reason why he stopped also, and this is one of the sorrow moment of the career, uh, the opponent that he boxed, and I don't want to cite his name, and who won against him, won, but I'm absolutely sure that uh, he was having some product that wouldn't have been allowed. But after he was declared the winner, he so-called collapsed in the dressing room, feeling headache, blah blah blah, and he escaped the doping test, going to hospital. I screamed, I shouted, I said, no, 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 you need to send the dope test inspector there, but the board don't do this. So, and Zanat was feeling so upset. It was a unification title, IBF, WBA. And he said, well, this guy, I punched him to death, but he wouldn't go down. I'm sure he's on something, and we never could prove it. And that's when Zara told me, Philip, I've been a world champion, thanks to you, and thanks to him, of course. I've done my journey, I stopped. And I told him, you're right, mate. The game is not what it should be. So that's it.
The relationship between managers and fighters can sometimes become very emotional. Did
Mhm.
you ever become emotionally attached to certain fighters during your career?
Oh, yeah, many, many indeed. Uh, most of the guy who succeeded, indeed, you become really, really attached. That's for sure. Uh, I don't want to say name more one another, but indeed, I was attached to many of the fighters that I helped to or that I worked with. Indeed.
And many boxing eventually develop a sharp ear for talent. What qualities immediately tell you that a young boxer has world-class potential?
Probably the punch. I think if a guy is a tremendous puncher, there is really good chance if he's got all the other qualities, of course, that he's got more chance to succeed. The punch is an equalizer. That's one thing. That's for sure.
And very interesting question. What is the craziest or most unforgettable story from your years in boxing promotion?
Hmm. Uh, when I worked with Michel Acariès, I saw one guy that was brought by Michel, who at the time there was not so many far away foreign boxers coming to box in France, and uh, Michel made a guy called Valero to come to box in Paris, and I saw the fight, and I was there, and this guy was fantastic. Edwin Valero was probably the biggest puncher that I've known, I've seen in my whole life in boxing, and then hopefully uh, he, he destroyed his own life in his career, probably due to abuse of drugs as well, but it didn't even affect his career at the time. Uh, because he won practically all the fight of his career by knockout. Uh, and finally, it ended up very bad because he killed his wife and he killed himself in prison. That is probably one of the saddest story, but the most fantastic boxer I've seen at the time. Uh, but I know also that this guy was impossible to manage. He was managed in the beginning, I think, by Mr. Honda, the promoter from from Japan. Then but this guy was too big for his own boots. So I'm pleased I didn't work with him, to be honest, despite his qualities. There you
Who,
go.
who is the greatest heavyweight boxer you ever watched live?
Probably Muhammad Ali if you go to that route, or Lennox Lewis, I think. I really
Not
respect
Ali.
Lennox Lewis. Uh, Ali was a great boxer, of course, but I didn't watch Ali live personally. I watched his retransmission on TV when we had a black and white TV in home, by the way. But I think Lennox Lewis made a great career, and I was proud to be in the same team as him with Panos and Frank Maloney.
European boxing has produced many underrated talents over the years.
Hmm.
Sometimes European fighters never receive the same global attention as American stars, despite great skills. You had that perspective is valuable. Which European boxer do you believe deserved far more international recognition?
I'll tell you, there was one guy who needed to have, but he's finished. It's Sergei Zinzeruk. Zinzeruk was a great boxer, the best chap in the world. Uh, and I don't think he succeeded because, but it's partly his mistake as well. When he signed with Peter Cole, uh, he didn't want to learn German. And Peter told him, look, mate, you need to learn German because you box in Germany, you need to be popular, and it didn't work. So Peter Cole slowly let him go or dropped him. Uh, to be successful, you really need also to be helping yourself in selling yourself. Now, the American boxer, it's a different market. The American market is a crazy market. Uh, some of these guys do silly things. I'm not too much in favor of that, but of course, some of them make good money with it. I remember Broner, who was a fool and who made so much money. But Adrian Bioder is not the example of boxer that I would like to have in my stable, despite he made a lot of money. So it's difficult to answer.
You worked closely with both amateur and professional fighters during your life. The transition from amateur boxing to the professional ranks can be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Not every great amateur becomes a successful professional. That
Hmm.
adjustment requires many changes. What is the biggest challenge fighters face when turning professional?
It's a different game. It's like if you play ping pong and tennis to me about this. Uh, and indeed, I do not believe, well, let's say most of the great champions of the or the Olympics didn't make a great professional. Uh, and some who are not made for amateur boxing tournaments could be really great professionals. That's for sure, because the punching power is more important. Uh, it's vary with every single boxer you take. I can't answer that question really, and I'm not a trainer myself. I've never trained really much boxers myself, so. Uh, I cannot tell you, but I do believe that the amateur school is very important. That I got when I learned the game in going to Ukraine and to Russia. I do believe that the amateur school is very important to form a boxer. And if you cancel amateur boxing, or if you make it the way it is actually in Russia, to be honest, I don't think it's very good. Uh, because you change the nature of the sport. But professional boxing is a totally different approach. The you rely more on different people as well. You need a good cutman. You need a good corner. You need a good coach. That's very different.
Boxing is serious business. How important are relationships and networking in the boxing business?
Particularly now with the new system of networks, I do believe indeed that so many things have changed that some boxers need really to have the right people around them to succeed and the right communication, which I'm not sure I am able to do because I'm the old school and uh, I would need more the assistance or the help or the support of people who are working in the in the network market than I did before. Before we were doing posters, we were doing flyers and things like that. You don't see that anymore. So that's different.
What are the biggest mistakes young fighters make during their careers?
Mm. To undertrain and think they could win. That's probably one of. Uh, I'll tell you one thing. I've got one boxer who was really talented and who succeeded because of hard work. That's Kirill Relik. Relik boxed twice for the world title before and was close to win, very close, but he didn't succeed. He was just on the wrong side. Then he boxed in America and was trained by Chico Rivas and his assistant, and he boxed brilliantly, and he won the first world title. Then he defended his world title against top Russian kid in Japan, which he won as well. So he's been two-time world champion WBA. And the third time, he thought it was arrived. He didn't go to training camp on time. When he came in training camp, he was way overweight. He made the weight at the scale, but he had lost something like 12 kilo to make the weight. So he had not trained properly to box. He had trained to lose the weight, and he lost the title, and that was the end of him. Uh, you pay dear some kind of attitude like this in the game. That's for sure.
The boxing world has changed financially over time as well.
Mm.
Do you think social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, do you think social media has helped or hurt modern boxing?
Well, it definitely have brought much more money into the game, probably. Like that, these fights with these guys who are not really boxers and who make huge fortune. But I don't think that it's the future. It's still in place like Japan, where there is regular boxing shows and events. Boxers are well paid, but not overpaid, except some guys like Inoue, who is a super champion. That's different, but they always been really well paid, these people. But I don't know, and I can't see the world is going a different way now than when I was younger, and that's for sure. But I don't think it's a good omen to have social media throwing so much money because they can change the next day. Not sure. There's a tradition in the boxing game, which is which I much prefer.
Next question, very interesting. Which fight night gave you the strongest emotional feeling during your career?
Probably when Lucas Brown knocked out Shagayev in Chechnya.
in Chechnya.
Yeah. That was really emotional, trust me. Especially because the president of Chechnya was in the corner of the guy in front of us. But we were well treated, there's no problem. But he was not too happy. And as everybody knows, he can be really a dangerous guy. But we were treated really with respect. So, but that was probably it's the first world heavyweight champion that came, and even Ricky Hatton didn't want to go there. So we went, Alexander Komorian, my friend, me, and the coach uh, of the boxer, and my partner from Australia, and that was it.
Lucas
That was
Brown.
probably indeed the biggest emotional success. And the other one, of course, was Ekasi being knocked out by Alexander Gorov with no, and also another one that I do remember. It's when I think it was Devakov who won against in the in Britain in the uh, Crystal Palace. He won when he stopped Spencer Oliver. And that was huge because Spencer Oliver was hugely popular. He was really the British kid of the year. And it was incredible to have that success. And still to this day, I saw Spencer Oliver the other day. He didn't box after because he had the bleeding in the brain, bleeding in the brain. But we are still friends. And each time he see me in Britain, he comes and he greets me. So he's a great sportsman himself. These are the three probably that comes to my head right now. Biggest moments.
Lucas Brown versus Chagayev. Happy boxing night. I'll have to watch that fight again on YouTube.
Oh yeah, look, I watch it again and again the same way that I watch on YouTube Alex Gurov knocking out the Cassie. That's for sure. These fights are still on YouTube now, and from time to time, when I've got friends at home, ding, I switch it on, and it's fantastic. That's great memories, of course.
Oof.
But there are so many, mate. You can't. Sometimes I don't sleep the nights because I think at all the place I've been with. I have one memory which is very good. I think it was in Durban when Frank Teodzok is with me, and he was a great amateur boxer, Frank. But contrary to his two brothers, he didn't do a great career because he signed with Christophe Courage, and Christophe Courage is a manager, and he told Courage, I don't want to box in France, I want to travel and box abroad. And the first 3 or 4 fights he did was in France, so he was pissed off. And Gaétan Micallef at the time called me and said, if you go to South Africa, I would advise that you give a call to Frank Tiozo. He's a nice guy, you don't know him. He's a nice guy. Just call him if you have something for him in a nice place. And so straight after, I got a proposal from a guy that I knew, Jim Harvey, to go to Durban to box Cesar Makatini, who was a good South African heavyweight. And Frank answered me the phone. He said, "Oh yeah, I don't know you, but Gaetan told me about you. Yeah, well, that's good, but at the only request that we stay a week after the fight." And I said, "But Frank, who's going to pay for that?" "I'm going to pay for it." He said, "Yeah, but wait a minute. We go for a fight. We don't go for a holiday." No. I'll do the fight, but I've got friends there, and I want you to stay with me because I don't speak English and I don't speak Afrikaans, and you do. Because I speak Flemish, of course. So I said, okay, we do. And he and I said, but Frank, you need to train because Cesar Macatini is not a bum. He said, yeah, don't worry. So we go to the gym, to the place in Durban. It was really a nice place. And Cesar Macassini was really impressive. The venue was an open football stadium, and it was full with black South Africans of the tribe of Cesar Macatini. It was a Zulu. And when we go to the ring, Frank told me, I'm going to knock this bloke out. Okay, good luck, very good. And indeed, in the first round, he put him down twice. And at the end of the round, he put him a third time down. But the gong rings, and of course, the referee can't, blah, blah. And Frank comes back and he say, but it's three knockdown rule. I said, Frank, there ain't no three knockdown rule in South Africa. He said, well, then I'm done, mate. I'm too tired. And he went up for the second round, but he was so exhausted that I threw the towel in. So that was it. And after that, we stayed indeed in South Africa for 1 week. And Frank is a fantastic guy. We went out, we went everywhere. It was so good fun. And still then we are friends. And I see him each time I go to Paris. But that was great times indeed.
By the way, who was the most charismatic boxing personality you ever met?
Probably Don King.
Oh,
He is now is not well. He's very old. He's ill, but he's been a showman and a great guy all his career. Maybe not the nicest guy in the world, but for sure one of the greatest figure in boxing. Most charismatic is King for sure to me. That comes to my head like this. He's a boxer. I don't know. I can't tell you. There's so many. It's difficult to select. But King definitely. Uh, and when he never forget someone, he never forget the figure. And when he sees you anyway, he say, "Ah, Fondu, come on, yeah," like you're screaming like a. And I'm singing. Well, what the people will think about me. That was in the beginning, of course. Voilà,
oh.
voilà, voilà.
Managers often need to protect fighters from bad career decisions. Sometimes saying no becomes just as important as finding opportunities. What was the most difficult career decision you ever had to make for a fighter?
Hmm. Well, there's one thing I didn't make so much that type of decision, I would say. But what I did lately, not so long time ago, is I used to work the corner of a guy that I like very much. Is a person that is Derek Chisora. Derek is a very courageous guy, a great entertainer, but he's getting old now, and I think he should stop to box. And I did work his corner several times. I met him last week again after he had boxed the American boxer. What was his name? Uh, this great boxer from America who punched so hard, and Derek lost some points. And he told me, uh, I want the return, despite the fact that he promised his wife that it would be his last fight. I'm not going to work his corner, even if he was to ask me, because I don't want. I think at some stage you need to stop boxing. That's why I respect so much Lennox or people like that, or Marvin Hagler, who decided at one day, well, that's it. Now, made enough money or not made enough money, you never make enough money in your life. But it's Lennox is a great sportsman because he decided, well, that's it, I stop, finish. And he had so many opportunity to come back, but he didn't. That's why also I don't really understand why some guys continue uh, at the risk of losing everything. Voilà.
Did
Joshua,
boxing
Joshua is one like this.
Did boxing change you personally as a man over the years?
Absolutely. To a point that nobody can imagine. Who knows what I would have been if I hadn't been in boxing? I don't know. Nobody knows. Yeah, yeah, boxing changed a lot personality. That's for sure.
Philippe, thank you so much for this interview, incredible interview, and
Let's see.
for sharing your amazing journey through the world of boxing. Uh, your experience, passion, and contribution to boxing deserve huge respect. I sincerely wish you strong health, happiness, and many more great moments in life and in the boxing world. Special, special thanks as well to Marina Kozerot for helping make this interview possible by giving me your contact. Without her help, this great conversation would never have happened.
Thank
Respect
you, Wayne.
and greetings from Ukraine. And last questions.
Mhm.
What kind of legacy would you like to live in boxing world?
Hmm. To have been able uh, to be considered like somebody who helped develop boxers a little bit sometime. And there's so many things I would like to do better, but life is going by, and you cannot go back in time. Now, I do believe that I've made some people happy, and I must have made a lot of people happy probably as well, but I prefer to remember the one who I made happy. And thank you very much indeed for your time as well. What you do is great. I would love to continue to be in relationship with you. If there was more people like you in boxing, boxing would be greatest. Thanks so much.
What do you
And we'll
want,
keep in touch.
what do you want to say to all the viewers who will watch us?
Huh. Look, watch boxing is the hardest, the best, and the toughest sport in the world. That's it. And I'm so happy that my grandfather brought me first time to boxing, because otherwise I would never have thought about this. So, but that was so many years ago. It's not very good to getting old, but it brings experience to the men. So that's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you too. Goodbye and good luck.
Thank you, and keep on doing the great job. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye bye.